है तो दिल धड़कता है. Yep.
We are live. Rajiv ji is here with us. Hello, everybody. We do this. We're gonna try to do this every Wednesday. Finally, now I'm in United States. I was in India, so we tried to switch it to Saturday and all of that. But Rajiv ji is a U.S. immigration lawyer, and we try to answer all the immigration questions in this session. Yeah, and Rajiv ji, let's start with. I think obviously, I'm not sure if you were aware or not, but assuming you are very active on the Twitter and all of it, the whole chaos happened about the H1B drama. Did you know about this?
Yeah, who doesn't know about it? I mean, I have to be living under a rock here.
Right.
You remember we predicted that's going to happen because we talked about it, that there are mamus and chachus in the government.
Yes, yeah.
This fight was expected. I mean, it's not something I can tell
what
you.
Was
what
unexpected, I think, for me was Trump coming out and saying, like, we need
Trump. So bepende ka lota hai. He, I have very little respect for the way they govern. But in any case, Democrats have not been very impressive either. So I think we need to start a third party. This two-party system is not working for us. Yeah. But anyhow, the bottom line is we are still stuck in the middle somewhere. We don't know which way it's going to head. But Biden did one thing smart. This regulation that starts on January 17th and Trump gets sworn in on January 20th.
20th, yeah.
So this regulation is actually in some ways quite evenly balanced. It's not creating great benefits for the H1B community, but it's also not creating great detriment either. What this regulation has done is they have basically codified that which they were already doing. Ab usi ka benefit, what is the benefit of that? And we talked about that. There are several levels of difficulty in changing regulation, changing laws, and changing the way we are governed. Most difficult is Constitution. It's very difficult to change the Constitution of the United States. Below that are the statutes, the rules, the laws, not the rules, the laws. They need Congress to act. Below that are regulations. They are a little difficult because it takes time, a few months' time to change a regulation unless you try to push it through without the due process. But then you can get stuck in courts because if you have technical errors, the regulation can be challenged on technical errors. And the one below that is policy. Policy can be changed with the stroke of a pen.
Yeah.
So what Biden did was he took the policy and encoded it into regulations. So think of it as converting software to firmware. It's a little bit more difficult to replace the chip than it is to control all delete.
The app, yeah, right.
So it's a little bit more complicated for the new government to come and just start tearing things up. They'll need to do some due process. There are some pleasant changes. We have been expecting them for years, and they were unofficially already in place where you could own the company and still be an employee. The problem was there was a discrepant way State Department handled. So when you go for visa stamping, here you are and I had a client who did that. He owned the company he worked for, 30, 40 employees, small company. Owned majority of the stock, but he was also the employee of the company. He got 2 visas from India without any problem. Third time they said, no, you can't do this. And he was stuck there for years and years. I kind of lost track of him. I don't know exactly what happened. So that was the difficulty. Now that difficulty has been removed, so you can actually own the company. And there was some doubt about which way they are going to handle, because they'll give you the first H1B if you are the majority stockholder of your company. They'll give you the first H1B for 18 months. Then they'll give you an extension for 18 months. Then my question was, what happens to the rest of the 3 years? And then they had made it clear in the rule that you can still get the other 3 years that are remaining. It's not like we are taking those years away from you. Some of the questions like, should I be paying myself the prevailing wage if I'm working for my own company? And the answer is yes, you have to. All other regulations are the same. So Therefore, you have to go through the lottery as well. So everything else remains the same. But you can own your own company, and that. I think it's a big advantage.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So some good
Yeah,
things.
but do you anticipate, like, so obviously there was a lot of noise over the Christmas week. Uh, do you anticipate anything that impacting in future? I mean, I guess obviously we can't predict future, but
I don't think anybody can predict. You have all these people holding seminars and webinars and talking about it's really up in the air. Nobody really knows what's going to happen. I don't think even the Trump insiders know what's going to happen. If I were to use my crystal ball, I would say, first of all, I don't think he's going to be able to deport 12 million people.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a major challenge. I think it's easier said than done. And most politicians, Trump especially, are adept at changing their positions. So he'll be telling you, oh, no, we have been approached by all these business groups, so we are not doing it, and this and that. They're not taking US jobs. I don't think they're going to be able to deport 12 million people, number one. Number two, unfortunately, anyone you speak with about H1B program will tell you two things. It needs some reform. And after that, there are only two schools of thought. It's good for us, it's not good for us. Nobody has data.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen.
I mean, obviously, the biggest argument is that it is taking away the jobs from Americans.
Well, it's depressing the wages. That's the biggest problem.
It's
not
right.
that they're taking a job. It's
that
depressing
too.
the wages. That is the major problem. I can see why that is an issue, but I have seen people on both sides of the fence. There are employers who are saying, are you kidding me? This is not an entry-level wage. We are hiring somebody out of school and you expect me to pay them $110,000? Well, that's what the Department of Labor says is the prevailing wage for the job. So there are both sides of the problem. Unfortunately, the system is so poorly set up. Let's say that I don't agree with the Department of Labor wage. What do? I can get prevailing wage surveys from private companies. There are other methods also, but private companies is the obvious one. One page of that survey costs a couple of $1,000. And they won't tell you in advance if it's going to work for you or not.
Yeah.
So you first buy the page. Okay. Are there other sources? It's becoming easier now. It didn't used to be in the days of the internet, in the days of more and more data being available online. It's becoming a little easier to contest the Department of Labor wages, but it's like fighting a fight, starting a fight within a fight. So therefore, I don't think that H1B reforms are going to be made through common sense. They are going to be made through whoever shouts the loudest.
Or whoever pays the most, I guess.
Well, I hope it is not that simple, but definitely politics is about horse trading. There is negotiation, and I don't think it's on one side. I think it's on both sides.
Right.
I was very disappointed to see that Democrats didn't do much when this time around they could have built consensus on at least some major points of immigration. They had a 1% majority in Senate, but at least they could have convinced more people. And Republicans are going to have the same problem. They have a razor-thin majority in House. They do not have a 60-seat majority in Senate. They're not going to be able to change laws easily because Senate doesn't work the same way as the House does. You have to make some compromises, unless you want to change the way business is done. But if you change the way business is done, then it's there for everyone. So the shoe that is on the Republican foot could tomorrow be on the Democratic foot. I'm not sure they want to do that. So bottom line, nobody knows what's going on. Bottom line, there is not enough impartial data to say which way we should go as a nation. And I suspect that we are going to make foolish laws as we did before.
Yeah. There's a relevant question. What are your views on H1B to be restricted to certain job roles, even in STEM field?
That makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
How can you say a systems analyst can get an H1B, but a software developer cannot? There's a lot of crossover in jobs in IT industry. What somebody calls programmer, somebody else will call a software engineer.
Yeah.
So really, there is so much crossover, and don't make a mistake that a coder's job is without logic and without application of you know considerable smarts. I mean, of course, if you are doing some very basic stuff, I can understand. If you are doing HTML and CSS, maybe it doesn't require. Although even there, you could end up with a lot of intricacies depending upon what you're developing. So therefore, it is difficult to confine them to specific jobs. I don't think that's possible.
Yeah. And again, I think people are assuming that it's going to be merit based for H1B, but again, it's going to take a very long time. Would you agree, Rajivji?
Yeah, I think so. I think because if you want to make it merit based, then we have to go to the drawing board and redraw the statutes.
Yeah.
And it's notoriously difficult to change the laws. You need to build a lot bigger consensus. This is a party that's not really, despite the illusion that somehow Trump rules the party. Who rules Trump? So I don't know what they are going to do, but I suspect it's not going to be smart.
Yeah.
Has it been smart so far? Not really. I agree that H1B system needs to change. What are the changes that I think need to be done? First of all, employees should know what is going on in their cases. What kind of nonsense is this? Employee doesn't even know his case has been or her case has been approved. And they are doing something about it. If you look at the new regulations and the comments, they are trying to build in a system or bring in a system where an employee knows when they have a receipt, they know when they have an approval. I think employees should get a copy of the approval notice. It should come directly from the USCIS. So there is an exclusion of the most important or the most vulnerable person, vulnerable entity in the H1B system. It's the same for green card, but a little bit less. For H1B, it's crazy. The employee has no say at all. I have no way of knowing. There are cases where I had a case last week. One of our dentists was working, and next thing is they received a notice from their old employer saying that they have revoked all our H1Bs. They were a bigger practice group. They have revoked all our H1Bs because we applied through multiple employers. Okay. Now, I don't know all the facts of the case. So they ended up in court. And luckily, this guy had an option to convert to another type of visa, which we did. So while we converted that, day before yesterday, I got an email from them saying that they have won the case in court. And the USCIS has backed off, saying that you filed multiple cases, because some of these cases were filed without their knowledge. Some of the staffing companies would just file cases through 10 of their subsidiaries without the dentist or the H1B holder knowing.
That is just crazy. I don't understand how that is possible.
Well, I think I think these people should be prosecuted. People who misuse the system, it's not enough to lay fines on them. They should be prosecuted criminally. There is no justification for it. I certainly believe that. I can understand if you do something inadvertently, but if you do something knowingly and you're trying to exploit the system, and who gets exploited the most? The person who doesn't have status. Or we'll file your H1B and we'll find you a job eventually. But USCIS has done some things to kind of codify that you can't do that anymore. It was true even before, but you have to have a bona fide job. They've also moved. They're saying we're not taking away staffing companies' business, but what we are going to do is, if you are placing an employee so that he becomes or she becomes a part of somebody else's workforce, then we are going to look at that particular third party client's requirements. Is this really a professional job? And how do we determine that? Not according to your standards, Mr. Staffing Company, but according to the standards of the end client.
Mm.
And so there are some changes, some good things that I see, and I think it's soon they are going to implement a system for employees to be fully informed about their cases. So these are some of the things they can do. Another thing, and that is very common actually. Um, Department of Labor catches that all the time. Leveling. So I have
Yeah.
an employee who's working for me for 3 years at level 1, which is the beginning level. It's justified if they're just out of school. But when I do an extension after 3 years, how can they be still at level 1?
Yeah.
For some jobs that are extraordinarily complex, neurosurgeon maybe, I can see why maybe I can still classify them as level 1 employee. But most of these jobs need to go to level 2.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
are 4 levels of wages, and they're actually very poorly done. Basically, what the Department of Labor did was, and if I remember this correctly, they just do 2 levels and then split them into 2 statistically rather than doing actual surveys for 4 levels.
You're right. Yeah.
Okay. So
And
there is plenty of stupidity to go around. It's not just
yeah.
one side. And then these site visits are crazy. Okay. So USCIS has been doing site visits, and in some ways it's okay because they give us a chance to respond. But USCIS is supposed to show up. Now, here is the problem with lawyers. I represent both the employer and the employee.
Mm.
Employer calls me and says, USCIS wants to talk with the employee. Okay. If I'm representing the employer, they want me to be with the employee. And here's the problem. Who's my client? There is a conflict of interest. What if the employee is sick and tired of you, sir? And he says
Mm.
something really which is damaging to you? What do I do? Whom do I
Mm.
represent? So that actually increases the financial burden of the employee or
Mm.
the employer. If the employer says, look, we'll pay for another lawyer for you.
Mm.
So my advice to most people is don't do anything that you have to hide. So be
Mm.
on the up and up. That way you don't need a lawyer, you just tell the truth. If they
Yeah.
try to twist your words or something, we can deal with it.
Yeah, I mean,
And
in 2017, I had the visit as well, like for my position in my last old company. It was very interesting. I mean, obviously, I was out on lunch, and then he came, and then he spoke to me, but he also spoke to my boss. So he's like, what do you do? And
yeah,
then he took photos of my desk and my name, and so my name again in the office setting, like my desk has UD Jagani versus Pritesh Jagani, which is my legal name. So it's like, like who's UD? And I was like trying to explain, like, it's me. And then I had to show him like my YouTube channel to show proof that that's me. There was like bunch of questions about it. And then he spoke to my boss and just asked him the same thing, like, who's this person? And they are just, at least what to me, it felt like they were just making sure I am who I am, who claimed in the petition, and not
you could
representing.
also have told him, have you heard of Superman? Yes. And have you heard of Clark Kent? So there's Clark Kent, that's
Yeah.
the normal guy, and then
I
there's
don't know.
Superman.
I mean, I wasn't that gutsy, and I didn't have you at that time. So, but now I can take those risks.
But in my own personal experience, I have done maybe over 300 audits,
Mm.
investigations, FBI investigations, etc., etc. Other than FBI and people from the IG's office, from the US Department of Labor, most of these people are fairly reasonable.
Yeah. It was.
The
Yeah. It
problem,
was.
the problem with pure enforcement, what is pure enforcement? ICE, they don't have
Mm.
any other function except pure enforcement. Maybe students, they do service and all, but mostly they're all enforcement.
Mm.
IG's office, where you try to exploit the program, IG's office comes in.
Mm.
Okay. So and they carry guns. IG's office comes in, and then you have the on the USCIS side, DHS I already covered. On the USCIS side, anti-fraud unit, they are all about enforcement. And then you have the State Department enforcement side, also fraud unit. Now, the enforcement mindset is different than the mindset of the benefits people. So
Mm.
normal people who come for your interviews and all, they may not be all enforcement people. They are just
Mm.
USCIS employees or DHS employees. But when you have task forces, so sometimes you'll have task forces that are going after a particular set of people or crimes. It's a very different mindset. When I see a situation like that, I don't want my client to say anything. It's your right to be quiet because they're coming at you for criminal violations. They're not coming at you for fines or making you file your H1B again. That's serious business. The question is, where does one begin and the other end and the other begin and the one ends? Very difficult to predict that. So that's why enforcement is scary, because we are worried about our clients. By itself, I mean, if the government doesn't have a case, they don't have a case. But here is the silly thing. When corporations commit fraud, first of all, no ethical lawyer would ever be involved with that. The moment I see a problem, it depends upon the seriousness of the problem. Either I walk away, or I might even have to tell them, look, you guys have to fix this. If you don't, I'm out. And I'm not even sure I might have to complain against you, because if you're, there are limits to how much confidentiality can protect you. So, for example, if an employer lies under oath, I can't sit there and be quiet. I'm also an officer of the court. So there are extreme circumstances where lawyers can't be party. I can always advise people how to comply with the laws. But if you are breaking the laws, so that is the reason our clientele is very, very ethical. I mean, they know, and I think they are the only kinds of people who hire us, who wants to do things right. They want to do it by the book. Because I tell them, if your lawyer will lie for you, they'll also lie to you. That's very simple. Okay. And I'll also, in my opinion, most lawyers that I know are pretty ethical. People, my colleagues will say, look, this is not ethical. I won't do this. So I'm hoping that first of all, I don't know what the new regime plans. Once they come, we don't know what's going to happen with the H1Bs. Everybody's making guesses. And you have one sentence from somebody, and then it is being reported in 25 different outlets. The same damn thing over and over and over again. I just got so bored of it. I was like, you know what? Until something happens, it's not happening. We just wait.
Yeah, exactly. Love it. Okay. That was good. It was almost like a nice talk show.
It was more venting than anything else. We have shined absolutely no light, but we have created a lot of fire.
All right, cool. Okay, let's get into the questions, and I'm gonna go from the very beginning because there are a few questions. So, people who asked a question, Leo, let's start with you. My perm is in process. I have labor certificate for my salary approved in 2023. Would new salary limit cause any issue during my perm process now?
Yeah. So, Leo, sir, the problem is, or actually the good thing is, once you have filed your perm, if the salary changes, you're not required to accommodate that. It is not an ongoing obligation. The obligation crystallizes at the moment you file your perm. After that, the salary could triple and quadruple. And that is part of the reason the system is broken, because this whole process should be over in 6 months. But now it takes 15 years. So that is why this whole thing is so asynchronous. It just doesn't gel. These regulations were not meant to take effect 15 years later. So you don't have to worry about salaries changing once the perm is filed.
Yep. I have H1B and my I-140 is not filed yet, and I have been in USA for 5 months. Can my spouse work?
No.
Yep. Okay. I heard that Pharma D is not eligible for STEM OPT. What are options to work after graduate past normal OPT?
I haven't looked into that. I don't really know why Pharm D is not eligible for STEM OPT. I know dentists are not. So there are fields that are counterintuitive, that they make no sense why they are not eligible for STEM OPT. But I have. What are the options? I guess going back to school and staying with curricular practical training could be one possibility. But with CPT also, I have always advised, and I still advise, it should be not just an excuse for getting a work authorization. It should actually advance your career also. I don't want anybody to be held to this. Of course, if somebody asks you, is getting EAD one of the incentives for the CPT? Yes, absolutely. But it's not just that. Until I find a job or until I get into an H1B situation, I'm also earning education that is directly related to my career goals.
Okay. There we go. Is it risky to travel after January 2025 onwards and come back by February 2025?
So we've talked about this before. I don't think that you're going to have normal people will have great deal of difficulty coming back in. There might be some countries that Trump administration wants to focus on. Last time they had picked a few Muslim countries. India is not a Muslim country. You might have heightened examination of your documentation, especially if you have curricular practical training, OPT. Just make sure you have evidence that you've been maintaining status. So, for example, OPT, if you are first year OPT, there are two possibilities. Either you are working for pay or you are working without pay. You should carry evidence showing that if you were working without pay, you should have a letter from the employer giving the hours that you work, at least 20 hours each week. If you worked with pay, can you even scanned documents should be okay. And remember one thing, when you are coming back into the United States, government can ask you, CBP can ask you to open your cell phone. They have some criteria for that, but largely they can make you open your cell phone, open your laptop, and make sure that you are comfortable with what you have there. And if you decline, you can decline to open that. If you decline, they can decline to let you in. They can say, go back.
Yeah. But I think this is another thing that we talked about last time or one of the times, that it's hard to prove something that does not exist. I think.
Well, yeah, it's hard to prove the it's hard to prove a negative.
Right.
So how can you prove that you and I don't have a contract? We can prove we have a contract if we produce the contract. How can we prove we don't have a contract?
Yeah. Okay. Next one is, if H1B is going. Oh, sorry, we already talked about that. My B2 is set to expire on February 12th. Prior to B2, I had a valid H1B till July 2024. If I am unable to secure a job by February 12th, would it be possible to transition to an H4 visa? My wife is on H1B.
Sure, Abhishek ji, you can do that, or you can even try another extension of the B2. And I've been advising people, if you want a second or third extension, please have enough evidence showing that you've been interviewing actively. So you should have a listing of the people and the interviews you've done, whom you spoke with, what date, what time, which company, what was the outcome, what are your plans for further interviewing, and how you are supporting yourself without having to work without authorization. So you can do H4 and you can also try a B2. The way I would approach it is, if I don't think I'm going to find a job in the next 6 months, I would just go for H4. But if I think there's a high possibility I'll get a job, I'll do a B2 extension.
Okay. One of my friend doing moonlighting for last 12 months, his primary one was ended. Can he take his time to get the other one, primary, and continue to do the other one? Payroll is getting generated. I'm very confused.
We don't understand the question. You should also tell us, what is your friend's status? Are they on H1B? Do they have two H1Bs? Are they on OPT? Are they working with two employers on OPT? Is it first year of OPT? Is it STEM OPT? Has the paperwork been updated with the DSO? Is the service reflecting multiple employers? So we need to know these things.
Yeah. L1 and L2 visa will be impacted with extension and Part 2 green card?
There's almost no change in L1, L2. The only change is that if you do an extension or an amendment, you have to prove you've been maintaining status. No real change in L1, L2.
Okay. I'm 20, doing my BTech. I've been to US twice, and my 10-year US tourist visa expires in May. If I apply for renewal, will it be rejected since I'm a student? Will do masters later. Rejection affect F1.
So you haven't mentioned, Aditya ji, if you have visited USA, have you? Or you've been twice? You've been to USA twice. Okay. So somebody like you should not have difficulty getting a B1, B2 approval again. You said you've been to US twice and in the last 10 years. So that means you were still a student, unless you were a toddler. I don't know how old you are. If you're a little baby, then probably nobody can predict your chances. But if you have already gotten a tourist visa when you were still a student, then chances are you should be able to get it again. But this is just predicting possibilities. I mean, I can never predict how government is going to react. This is true for all kinds of cases, national interest waiver, EB1s, O1s, impossible. Some cases we can predict, H1s, L1s, we can predict what's going to happen. But these cases where there's discretion involved, each officer looks at the same case differently. All we can do is play the odds. So do I think you have a good chance of getting a B1, B2 approved? I think so.
Yeah. This reminded me for some reason. A very common question last week, I was asked, if the students are studying right now, they are on F1 visa, they are in their second semester, can't yet do CPT because they haven't completed one academic year, but they got unpaid internship. Can they do that unpaid internship, or does that violate their?
That does not violate immigration laws, but it could violate school policies.
And if the school is okay?
If the school is okay, working without pay for an employee is never a problem under immigration law. Employer might have a problem if they are a for-profit and they don't meet certain requirements under Fair Labor Standards Act. But as far as the employee is concerned, or the intern is concerned, if the school allows them, they are not breaking any laws.
Okay, got it.
As long as they are maintaining their status, full-time status. One other question that Aditya ji had asked was if my B1, B2 gets denied, does that reflect poorly on my F1?
F1, yeah.
And the answer is, who knows, Aditya ji? It's difficult to predict. I personally think you have a good case for both B1 and F1. But if you were an indifferent student and you really don't have a clear-cut career path, you could have trouble getting F1 for many different reasons, not just the B1, B2 denial.
Yeah.
So take your chances. That's all I can say.
Sorry, going back to the answer that you gave previously. So in the case of the students, should they then get an approval or in writing from school that they were okay with me doing this unpaid internship?
Just an email exchange would be okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't see any reason why USCIS can object to an arrangement like that. I am maintaining my full credits. School doesn't have a problem if I go intern for 10, 20 hours each week. Now, look at it this way. What if you wanted to volunteer in a temple? Would that be violation of your status? So what is the difference between a temple and a software company?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. How was India? India was good. Thank you.
India was 10 pounds heavier.
Yeah, it was. But I lost it. I lost 7 of them. Can
India
H1B
was 10 pounds.
Yes. I enjoyed all the different states.
Can H1B renewed in the US? If you mean the visa, no. Because they had a pilot program, but that was discontinued. I don't know if they are going to implement that again. So right now, H1B visa cannot be renewed, but status can be renewed.
I am nearing graduation, but I still don't have a confirmed full-time job. Should I be concerned about this during transitional phase?
I don't see why, because nothing has changed. Would you be concerned if there was no transitional phase? If the answer is no, then the answer to your question is also no. Because see, Nirmalji, right now we don't know enough whether we should be concerned about anything at all. See, if you look at the various statements coming out of the Trump camps, leaving aside the complete crazy people, extreme crazy people who are just like,
Yeah.
and they are themselves immigrants, most of them, who say that no immigrant should be allowed in the United States. We are all getting old, dude. Who's going to pay for our social security? We need younger workers. So if you tell us that, it's just silly, these kind of statements. So if you look at the extreme people and kind of ignore them, hopefully they won't have their say. Rest of the people are, I would say that they feel that nobody should break the law in immigration. That's kind of where everybody is. But at the same time, I don't think people are particularly interested in deporting non-criminal, hardworking people, even if they are without documentation in this country. So that's kind of where we are. Most of us are moderate about immigration. We are not hawks, but we do not like people breaking the laws of this country. And that's true for me as a lawyer and as an immigrant, a citizen.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. I'm on OPT and I want to write and publish a book. How to proceed with that so there is no violation for the same? I mean, I would love to sell it.
Take no money. That's the only thing. Unless you write the book in your home country, sell it there, and then come here. So if you can do it outside the United States, take a month or two off, go do it. If you do it in the United States, I think somebody could somewhere along the line say you violated your status. But let me tell you something. And I've said this many times before. My fondest example is many, many years ago, in days when $1 million used to be a lot of money.
I remember this.
Yeah, one of my students' clients, there were 3 of them. They had written some software which Microsoft ended up buying, and they all made good amount of money. So they were really scared about taking the money. I said, okay, let's examine this whole situation. And they were all towards the end of their student visa. They were all getting H1Bs, etc. So I said, okay, so here is the situation. You take the money, okay? Whenever you asked a question which even obliquely refers to, have you ever violated status? You say, yes, I violated my status because I took money for software I wrote. What can the government do? They can say, bad boy, don't do it again, go get your visa stamp. They can only make you go out and get your visa stamp. When you go to the consulate, they say, did you violate status? Yes, sir, I did. What can they do to you? H1B is immune from that problem. So I'm not saying that you should break the law deliberately, but you should know what the consequences are before you make your decision. The consequences, if you tell the truth, are only that they can make you go outside for visa stamp. And your visa stamping cannot be stopped for this reason. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if you try to hide it and you say, never violated status, you do that and you get caught, it's a permanent bar from entering the US. And the waiver is almost impossible. So that means you're out forever. You can never come back again. So as a rational human being, most of you are smarter than I am, if you think about it, what makes sense? If you are going to violate your status, never lie about it. And there are certain violations, such as writing a book, which nobody really knows. Is it a violation, really? Because there was a time where, about 25 years ago, my first 10 years into practice, I remember there was an exception for college professors who did academic activities on H1B, write books, give lectures and get paid for them. They were allowed. Did it change? Was it ever changed formally? No. But it kind of went away. So we don't really know what is legal, what is illegal in these academic activities. Now, if you are a computer science professional and you wrote a book on, I don't know, cooking recipes.
Romantic, yeah.
You have nothing but romance in your brain. Come to our class.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Cooking recipe book. Yes.
Completely unconnected with your profession. It could be considered to be a violation of status, maybe. Although, after all, what is the basic purpose of violation of status. One, to keep you on track, and two, to protect US labor. So by writing a book in your spare time, you're still on track. It's like volunteering, right? Are you taking away an American job by writing a book? I don't see how. Nobody can write a book about papadas and dokla like UD can. Right? So there is some debate there. What is a thin line? Are we on this side or that side? Is it a violation of the law? If you can do it outside the US, that's perfectly legal.
Okay. A friend's wife and daughter submitted for H4 in Hyderabad. Daughter has got passport with stamp. Wife has not received since last 3 weeks. What can he do? It's impacting his daughter's school.
Do exactly that. Send an email to the consulate if you have any documentation showing when she's starting school. Attach that. Explain that she's X number of years old. If your daughter is 19 years old, I don't think that is going to fly. They are going to say, well, she can come by herself. What is the problem? But if she's 8, 9, 10 years old, of course she needs a mom. So that's something that can be done. And there's no reason for them to hold on for that long, unless your wife has some sort of hit with something in their suspicions, their lookout list or something. Sometimes it can happen. Names are similar.
Yeah.
So somebody asked me the other day, they said, is Rajiv a common name in India? I said, dude, when you have 1.5 billion people, every name is a common name.
Yes.
So when you have 1.5 billion people, it's possible there's somebody who's got something in their background and that is hitting your wife. Doesn't hurt to at least ask.
Should I be concerned if I have I-140 approved and supposed to file H1B extension in March 2025?
No, Bhamikji, why would you be concerned? I'm not sure I follow your question because this is absolutely okay.
Like, is it too late, like too less of a time for getting the extension? I am assuming.
He has I-140 approved because then he can keep getting extensions based upon the approved I-140.
But the extension, does that extension has to get approved for him to continue working?
No, he has. Should I be concerned if I have I-140 approved? And supposed to file H1B extension in March 2025? No problem at all. You have an I-140 already approved. Unless that I-140 was revoked, then you should be concerned. But if it was not revoked, it was approved, and either you are with that employer, or if it was with a previous employer, it stayed approved for 180 days. In both these cases, you don't need to be concerned. So if you are with the same employer, no problem at all. No concern.
If FDNS going to decide outcome of every H1B petition?
No, so the way this works, Manasaji, is that the people who come to investigate know enough about asking the right questions because their field of inquiry is rather narrow. Is this person actually working where they are supposed to be working? Is he or she doing the job they are supposed to be doing? Is the reporting structure, is it a staffing position or is it a project, whatever that is? And are they getting paid the right salary? Leveling, okay. If they are a level 4 employee, now here is one of the problems, and employees need to be aware of this. I've run into this many times during an audit or an investigation. So if you ask an employee, and we need to educate the employees. If you ask an employee, they think I am reinventing fire. So ask, what do you do? Oh, I write very complex software. Dude, what do you do, man? That's what I'm asking. So when you start parsing it, you go, okay, I develop single page applications or distributed software. But all these are normal now. If you're a software developer, none of this is truly extraordinary. I'm doing Lambda functions. Well, Lambda functions, if you have a degree in computer science, Lambda functions are not rocket science either. Okay. Well, Lambda functions also come in two flavors. There's the AWS Lambda, and then you have the programming technique of Lambda. So, So if an employee starts talking about their resume, they will just think that they are trying to set up a job interview. They'll try to explain to the officer, "Oh, I do very complicated." He said, "But you're getting paid a level 1 salary, man, and you say you are doing all this very complex work." It's a good idea uh, for employers to make sure that everybody understands what these interviews are about and just stick to the truth. Don't try to exaggerate. They're not going to give you a job. This is not a job interview.
Yeah. 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 I'm in my second year on H1B, and my company's planning to file my I-140. However, I might need to travel to India. Should I proceed with I-140 filing or keep 3 years and return later?
I'm in my 2 year on an H1B. So I've got 4 years left. My company is planning to file my I-140. So above, one thing we don't know is your PERM approved? Or are you doing an NIW? However, I might need to travel to India. So traveling to India has no relationship with your I-140. Filing an I-140 should not be a bar or an impediment in traveling to India. The only time it could become a questionable issue is if you're also filing I-485. That is, your priority date is current. And if you're India born, it is not current. Okay. So the takeaway is I-140 and travel have no relationship with each other when you are on H1B.
Okay. There was a very interesting question, which I lost it now. Oh, there we go. Very long question. Regarding volunteering and unpaid internship on F1 visa, I was offered an unpaid internship at an NGO, but I haven't completed the 2 semesters yet. Oh, I guess this is the same question. They mentioned they can classify it as a volunteer position for now, and based on my performance, they might convert it into formal internship over the summer.
Yeah, you need to talk with your DSO, sir or madam. Talk with your DSO. Ask them if you're allowed to do the internship. We just covered this, didn't we?
Yeah. There were 2 other people who asked me the same thing, so I think we did. Nice. I'm a Canadian citizen, currently on H1, perm applied, waiting for I-140. Do I need to worry about any new rules or changes?
No. Nafis Sab, you are okay.
Nice. Okay.
So Nafis means refined. So I'm like the way he calls himself refined. I'm refined.
Nice. I started my master's at IIT Chicago as listed on my F1 visa, but transferred to University of Wisconsin. Within 2 days, the transfer was processed correctly and my service ID remained the same. I plan to travel to India in March 2025 and will carry I-20 from both universities. Could my visa listing, the first university, cause issues at immigration? Also, do I need to file Form AR11 to update my address with USCIS?
So the first part is easy. The first part is when you enter the United States the first time, the name of the university on your visa and the name of the university on I-20 have to be the same. Okay. But when you enter subsequently, the I-20 can be from a different university and the visa for a different university. So that's not a problem. Now, you did change within 2 days after coming. Okay. So not sure what's up with that. Why did you decide to do that? Were you trying to game the system? As far as I know, even that other university is not an unrecognized university. It's a recognized school. So that part, I think, would be okay. What was the second part of his question, Yuri?
Does he have to, since he changed the address, does he have to file AR11?
So, I don't remember. I'm a little ashamed to admit. I don't remember if students are supposed to file AR11 because your address and all is updated in service system. So when in doubt, over comply. My response would be, I'm not going to sit there being a professor and look at all the research. I'll just file the AR11. It takes 3 minutes. There are only 4 or 5 fields I have to fill out. Might as well do it. But make sure you tell your university also.
Is remote work allowed on H1B visa? I have permanent work from home. I live in South Cal. and companies in North California, will I face any issue?
No problem, Sangramji. The only thing is, you should be approved for whichever location you are working from. So if you live in North Carolina or South Carolina, then your H1B should be approved for location of South Carolina.
I think it's
Okay.
South California.
South California. Okay. Why did I think Carolina? Oh, North Cal. Okay. Somehow it's stuck in my head. Thank you for pointing that out. So it doesn't matter. Bottom line is, if you're working in two locations, sometimes you go to the office, sometimes you work from home, get both approved. If you are working only from home, get home location approved. Your lawyers can take care of all that. But not without approval. You can't start working from home unless your location is approved.
I am on H1 visa. I lost my job in November 2024. 15 days left in my H1 grace period to find a new employer. Can I transfer to B1 to maintain my status at the end of the grace period?
Yeah. Can you show our attendees, just show them, do a Google search for USCIS terminated employees.
Terminated employees.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go.
Do
I'm
you
going to
see
share my
it should be the
screen.
very first page.
I'll share it so you can guide
Yeah,
me. Yeah. Options
yeah.
for non-immigrant.
So, options for non-immigrant workers following termination. Click on that. That's what you want to see. Come down. There is accordion text. Come down. And you see change of status?
Yeah.
That's where they actually tell you file B1, B2 to maintain status. So look at the second
there
bullet.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they also tell you that if you need to convert back to H1, we'll help you.
Okay, so great. I will put this link.
And also go to my blog. I have written down exactly what you need to do to apply for B1, B2.
Okay.
Okay. So if you just go to immigration.com.
Yeah.
And on the very top, it says Rajiv's blog, very top gray ribbon. Click on Rajiv's blog. I think it's on third page. So
you remove the search?
No, search should be there. So it should be, I can't read what you're, it should be there, right? You see it?
Adjustment of status, travel ban.
Go one page earlier. Now this is too far. Go to page 2.
There we go. B1, B2.
B1, B2 is an option for those who have been laid off and cannot get conversion. So read through this. It tells you exactly what you're supposed to do. Now also do a Google search for Rajiv S. Khanna Economic Times. And you'll see an article from me that tells you how to convert to B1, B2 and then convert back to H1B. That I wrote for the employers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's going to pop up multiple ads for me, but
yeah,
there it is.
Yeah, so there is an article there. So go look for that also.
Yeah.
It tells you exactly what you're saying.
So many ads.
Yeah, I don't know where you are. So I usually just use one of their the pop-up stopper.
Oh, like ad blocks.
You can also install a software that lets you see the version without any ads and anything. There is a Chrome add-on that you can say, I just want the reading version.
Okay. All right. We'll do couple questions and then let you go. I got laid off in October 2024. I was on my first H1B. I'm currently on TPS EAD. If I get a job with a company that can sponsor, can I use my previous H1B?
Sure. Absolutely. You can. Can you do change of status or not? Your lawyers will tell you. My understanding is that if you were in status when you got your TPS, you will be able to convert back within the US. You can go back to H1B with a visa stamp at any time, and you can go to any of the neighboring countries for an H1B visa stamp if you need to. You may not need to. Short answer, can I convert back to H1B? Absolutely.
Okay. There was another. Yeah. Vaibhav did respond to his previous thing that his perm is not approved and I'm planning
Oh,
to.
okay. Even that's okay. So, Vaibhavji, the only thing that is problematic about your situation, why would a company offer you a job 10 years in the future? Okay. There is a reasonable question. But if you have a reasonable answer, for example, I am still working for that company, but as an independent contractor while I'm in India. Or I'm working for the Indian branch of that company. There's some connection. Or I am the bee's knees. The skills I have, nobody else in the US has. They want me so desperately, they are willing to name their firstborn child after me. So this green card is nothing. They are willing to call that guy their young child, Vaibhav Smith. We are okay. So you've got to have some reason. It can't be just an accommodation. I mean, it can be, but it should be good faith accommodation. You shouldn't have to lie about it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see if there's anything emergency. Otherwise, there are lots of questions to look at. So I guess we'll call it. But thank you, Rajiv ji. Go ahead.
Yeah, stay online if you want to discuss it in front of other people. I was just going to suggest, do you want to do every other Thursdays webinars with me just for questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because that way I don't have to deal with any of this nonsense. I just step up, look beautiful, and go away.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. Then let's start. What I
you
do
look
is
beautiful anyways. So
12:30 पे शुरू होते हैं. So you be the host. And because people in India are complaining, they're saying, "Yaar, tere wo jo every other Thursday you want us to call into, and it costs a lot of money in that conference call." And I said, I can do Zoom, Google Meet, or I was looking at this StreamYard. I was like, I really don't have time to learn all this.
Yeah. We can do.
We can do Wednesdays or Thursdays, or we can just move it to Thursdays, every other Thursday, or we can do one Wednesday, one Thursday. So you decide. I'm okay even doing 2 days. I'm okay with that. But we'll be doing twice a month Thursdays.
Done.
You can do every Wednesday plus twice a month Thursday. Because I think there's going to be a lot of changes. So we need to reach out to people.
Yeah, of course.
बेवकूफी मत करो यार,
हाँ एंड हमारा तो वैसे भी वेडनेसडे को था ही तो this will just add another
this Thursday I'm doing our conference call on
starting
on our conference bridge. क्योंकि वो LinkedIn stopped doing their audio call, so I can't do it there anymore. I have to find another medium. So why don't you host us and we'll do the same thing. ठीक है? So next Thursday we'll do this, and we can also do Wednesday if you want.
Yes, sounds good. And there is a interesting question. I experienced a robbery, strong arm, no weapon and battery inside the train. Can I apply for U visa if F1 visa?
So, Dhanushi, it's a good idea to talk to a lawyer anyway. Okay, because I don't do U visas. I have seen the good impact of U visas. It can be very helpful because it gets you a work authorization, although it takes forever and ever and ever. But it gets you a work authorization and also a green card. And it's faster than the EB2, EB3 category for India. So please talk to a lawyer who does U visas. Acha. Do me a favor, UD. Do a AILA lawyer referral service. AILA. AILA lawyer referral service.
AILLA?
No, American Immigration Lawyers Association. AILA lawyer referral service. So American Immigration Lawyers has a referral service where you can choose the area you want a lawyer in and the subject matter. So look for U visa in your neighborhood. And the way it works is your lawyer will call the law enforcement agency, get some forms signed, and they'll apply for your U visa. Does it apply to you? Doesn't hurt to check. I am not an expert. I just don't have time to, start a totally new set of cases.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do one last, since it's part of my company has been acquired by some other company. My perm has been filed in July 2024, do the new company have to start the perm?
So that's a very interesting question, Ankit ji. What I want you to do is Google or just go to USCIS policy manual and type the phrase successor in interest. Successor, SUCCESSOR, successor in interest. You will see, in order for a company that takes over a part of another company, certain requirements have to be met. And these requirements are different for H1B and different for green card. They are a little bit more difficult for green card. Okay. So I'll give you an example. We had a client who sold one part of their company. They had the federal government contracting division and they had private contracting division. They sold their private contracting division. Okay. Now I had a bunch of green cards with them. So before they went in, I said, wait. Don't do anything until I've looked at your contracts. So I looked at the merger and acquisition contract and we made a few changes. Now, without any problem, we were able to do all the cases without having to redo anything. Why? Because when you have only part of the company being taken over, that part that is being taken over should be separable. So it has its own books. It doesn't have to pay taxes separately, but it should have its own accounting. Okay. There are certain requirements. So to answer your question, I would have to talk to your lawyers. That guys, either the M&A lawyers, people, the corporate lawyers, or the immigration lawyers. That immigration lawyers will know how to make the case, but the M&A lawyers will be able to tell you what kind of transaction it was. Really, what you want is your company's immigration lawyers to advise you. It may or may not be a problem.
My last attempt, should I apply for executive PhD day 1 CPT?
As long as, Sam Dada, as long as it is legal, why shouldn't we do it? Okay. If somebody says it's illegal, when they say it is illegal, then we'll worry about it. So the short answer is yes. If you can get a good university, that's even better. That's what I would like to really see, because it's good for you career-wise, and it's also good for you immigration-wise. A good school.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We will keep you posted next week. Sounds like we might move it to Thursday, but
no, we can do Wednesday and Thursday both.
Okay.
If you want. Okay. So Thursday को 12:30 Eastern time.
ठीक है हाँ वो तो but what about the other two Thursdays? So if you're
other two Thursdays we do our community conference on the उसमें फायदा पता है क्या है, because it is our own bridge, so people can remain anonymous. There is no problem.
ठीक है तो हाँ, so we'll figure out
that's where we start. And if people say it's better for us to just come to UD's hosted meeting, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Chalega, chalo, we'll talk soon.
All right. Yes. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
I'll stay online, UD. I think I have to stay.
Yes.